For years, rental real estate was marketed as the safest wealth-building play in America. Buy a home, rent it out, let the tenant cover the mortgage, and build equity over time. In Florida, that narrative has completely unraveled. Landlords are no longer worried about vacancies. They are worried about staying solvent. Across the state, rental properties that once generated reliable income are now losing money every month with no exit that doesn't involve severe financial damage. Tonight, we are counting down 10 Florida cities where rental investments turned into financial traps, and why the landlords losing the most money are often the ones who followed every rule.
Number 10. Port St. Lucie. Port St. Lucie was a textbook market for small investors through 2021. Home prices were affordable, typically between $240,000 and $280,000. Rental demand was strong among young families and service workers. Appreciation averaged 8 to 12% annually, and conservative rents still produced positive cash flow. The math was straightforward, and it worked. A typical rental purchased in 2020 for $260,000 with 20% down, or $52,000, financed $208,000 at 3.75%. The monthly mortgage was about $964. Property taxes were around $400, insurance averaged $350, HOA fees were roughly $200, and maintenance reserves added another $200. Total monthly costs came to approximately $2,114. Renting the home for $2,400 produced about $286 per month in cash flow. It wasn't flashy, but it was positive. The real return came from appreciation and mortgage paydown. At 10% annual appreciation, the property gained roughly $26,000 in equity in the first year, plus about $3,600 from principal reduction. That's nearly $30,000 in wealth created in year one. That was the model. Now fast forward to 2026. Insurance increased from $350 per month to $1,100. Property taxes climbed to $560. HOA fees rose to $300 as master insurance policies tripled. Maintenance costs increased to $300 as labor, materials, and storm-related repairs became more frequent. Monthly costs now look like this: mortgage $964, insurance $1,100, taxes $560, HOA $300, maintenance $300. Total monthly expenses are about $4,124. Rents never kept pace. That same property now rents for roughly $2,600, an increase of only $200 over 5 years. Costs nearly doubled. The result is a loss of about $1,500 per month, or more than $18,000 per year, before accounting for vacancies, repairs, or tenant issues. At the same time, Port St. Lucie home values dropped about 8% from their 2023 peak, erasing more than $20,000 in equity. A property that once created $30,000 per year in wealth is now destroying close to $40,000 annually when cash losses and equity decline are combined. The investment didn't slowly weaken, it flipped upside down. And here's the trap: there is no clean way out. Selling locks in losses. Holding means ongoing cash bleeding. Raising rents is not realistic. Median renter household income in Port St. Lucie is around $48,000, which caps affordable rent far below what's needed to break even. This isn't a bad call by investors. It's a structurally broken equation. Port St. Lucie landlords aren't trapped emotionally. They are trapped by math.
Number 9. Panama City. Panama City landlords believed they had already survived the worst. Hurricane Michael in 2018 devastated the area, triggered massive insurance claims, and sent premiums soaring. But properties were rebuilt, rents increased with reconstruction demand, and by 2021 the math stabilized. Investors who held through the recovery were rewarded. Then the insurance market shifted again. By 2024, insurers began treating Hurricane Michael as a permanent underwriting penalty instead of a past event. 6 years later, landlords discovered that Michael would be used indefinitely to justify insurance costs no rental market could support. A rental purchased in 2020 for $220,000 with 20% down financed $176,000 at 3.625%. The mortgage was about $804 per month. Insurance ran $325. Property taxes averaged $350. Maintenance was about $200. Total monthly costs were roughly $1,679. Renting the home for $1,950 produced $271 in cash flow. Add modest appreciation of 5 to 6%, or $11,000 to $13,000 annually, plus $3,200 in mortgage paydown, and total wealth creation was about $16,000 to $18,000 per year. Stable, not spectacular. That stability is gone. Insurance on the same property now runs between $1,200 and $1,500 per month. Using $1,350 as a midpoint, that's over $10,000 more per year from insurance alone. Property taxes rose to $467, maintenance increased to $250. New monthly costs total about $2,871. Rent has barely moved. The property now rents for about $2,100, just $150 more than 5 years ago. The result is a loss of $771 per month, or more than $9,000 annually. At the same time, property values dropped 15% from post-rebuild highs. A $220,000 home is now worth about $187,000, erasing $33,000 in equity. Combined with operating losses, annual wealth destruction exceeds $42,000. What makes this especially painful is timing. These landlords stayed when others left. They repaired homes, absorbed inflated rebuilding costs, and believed in recovery. Their reward is ongoing financial damage tied to a storm that happened 6 years ago and has little relevance to their current risk. Insurers no longer price individual mitigation or years without storms. Hurricane Michael is permanently embedded into Panama City underwriting models. Continued ownership no longer makes sense, not because demand disappeared, but because insurance permanently broke the math.
Number 8. Sarasota. Sarasota attracted a different investor profile. Upscale rentals for professionals, retirees needing short-term housing, and seasonal tenants. Homes priced between $400,000 and $500,000 rented for $3,500 to $4,500 per month. Cash flow was thin, but appreciation was exceptional. An investor who bought in 2021 for $450,000 with 25% down financed $337,500 at 3.125%. The mortgage was $1,463. Insurance ran $700. Property taxes averaged $900. HOA fees were $700. Maintenance added $400. Total monthly costs were $4,163. Rented at $4,200, cash flow was barely positive, but appreciation ran 12 to 15% annually, producing $54,000 to $67,000 in equity growth, plus about $5,000 in mortgage paydown. Annual wealth creation exceeded $60,000. Between 2024 and 2026, that model collapsed. Insurance rose from $700 to $2,300 per month. Property taxes increased more than 40%. HOA fees climbed to $950. New monthly costs reached about $5,991. Rent rose only to about $4,600. The result is a $1,391 monthly loss, or nearly $17,000 per year. Property values declined 8%, wiping out $36,000 in equity. Combined losses exceed $52,000 annually per property. An investor holding 3 Sarasota rentals is now losing more than $150,000 per year. Demand elasticity is the problem. Affluent tenants have options. They can buy, rent elsewhere, or leave the state. Rents would need to approach $6,500 just to break even. That gap marks the effective end of Sarasota's upscale rental model.
Number 7. Cape Coral. Cape Coral attracted investors for one primary reason: waterfront canals. The strategy was simple: buy canal-front homes for slightly more than inland properties, rent them to boaters and lifestyle renters at premium rates, and benefit from appreciation driven by limited canal inventory. For years, it worked. A canal property purchased in 2019 for $320,000 with 20% down, financed $256,000 at 4%.
The monthly mortgage was about $1,223. Insurance ran $425 due to water exposure. Property taxes averaged $450. Most canal neighborhoods had little or no HOA. Maintenance reserves were about $300 because of saltwater wear. Total monthly costs were roughly $28.98. Renting the property for $3,400 produced just over $500 in monthly cash flow. Add appreciation averaging 9%, or about $28,800 annually, plus roughly $4,000 in mortgage paydown, and total wealth creation approached $38,000 per year. That model collapsed when insurance repricing hit waterfront properties the hardest. After Hurricane Ian, insurers reclassified canal homes as high wind and high flood risk, regardless of whether they flooded. Insurance jumped from $425 per month to $1,800. The very feature that once justified premium rents became the liability that destroyed the deal. Property taxes increased to $621 as the city raised rates while values fell. Water infrastructure failures triggered special assessments averaging $200 per month for canal properties. Maintenance rose to $350. New monthly costs now total about $51.94. Even optimistic rents don't come close. At $3,600 per month, the property loses about $1,500 monthly, or more than $19,000 annually. The damage doesn't stop there. Canal properties declined more than non-waterfront homes as buyers were scared off by insurance costs. A home purchased for $320,000 now trades closer to $270,000 to $290,000, wiping out $30,000 to $50,000 in equity. The original down payment is partially gone, while operating losses continue. Combined cash losses and equity erosion now approach $50,000 per year on a single property. Multiply that across a small portfolio, and it becomes unsustainable. And this isn't temporary. Insurance companies have made it clear they are reducing waterfront exposure permanently. Canal properties in Cape Coral face structural uninsurability at costs tenants cannot absorb. The model didn't bend, it broke, and it isn't coming back.
Number 6. Jacksonville. Jacksonville was supposed to be the safe alternative. Fewer hurricanes, diversified economy, lower prices. And for a while, it worked. A 2021 rental produced nearly $29,000 annually in combined cash flow, appreciation, and paydown. By 2024, insurance rose from $400 to $1,150 per month. Property taxes climbed 41%. The property now loses about $5,000 per year, plus $16,800 in lost equity. Jacksonville shows the crisis is systemic. Conservative, inland, affordable strategies failed anyway. When prudent investments collapse alongside risky ones, capital doesn't rotate, it exits.
Number 5. Fort Myers. Post-Ian buyers believed the worst was over. Insurance stabilized, rents surged, and properties looked discounted. They weren't. Insurance jumped again. Rents fell. Values declined 14%. A single property lost more than $64,000 in 1 year on a $90,000 investment. What looked like opportunity was incomplete repricing. These were value traps.
Number 4. Orlando. Orlando investors believed inland markets would be protected. Less storm exposure, strong job growth, and steady rental demand. The assumption was that Orlando would outperform when coastal insurance collapsed. That assumption failed. Insurers now treat Florida as a single risk pool. Orlando premiums are driven by Miami and Tampa losses, not Orlando risk. A rental bought in 2020 for $325,000, financed at 3.875%, had total monthly costs of about $2,848 and rented for $3,200, producing $352 in cash flow. Appreciation and paydown pushed annual wealth creation over $40,000. Insurance rose from $475 to $1,350 per month. Property taxes jumped 38%. HOA fees increased. New monthly costs reached $4,172. Rent rose to just $3,400. Losses now exceed $9,000 annually. Values only decline slightly, but stable prices don't matter when operations bleed cash. Orlando reveals a market failure. Risk pricing no longer matches reality. Capital isn't rotating within Florida, it's leaving the state entirely.
Number 3. West Palm Beach. Premium rentals relied on appreciation to offset operating losses. When appreciation stopped and costs exploded, the strategy collapsed. Annual losses now exceed $87,000 per property. There is no recovery path, only different speeds of loss.
Number 2. Tampa. Once a national favorite, Tampa saw insurance explode and carriers stop writing policies entirely. Uninsurable rentals are not just unprofitable, they are unsellable. Tampa became the clearest warning of how fast hot markets collapse when insurance breaks the ownership model. Number 1. Miami. Miami represented the peak of appreciation-driven investing. That belief imploded. One rental now destroys over $120,000 per year in combined cash losses and equity decline. Investors holding multiple properties face catastrophic balance sheet damage. Some are selling at 40 to 45 cents on the dollar just to stop the bleeding. Across all 10 cities, a single pattern emerges. This is not a series of isolated failures. It is the systemic collapse of Florida's residential rental investment model. Insurance didn't weaken the strategy, it reversed it. Appreciation turned into depreciation. Rent stopped covering costs. Equity eroded faster than mortgages were paid down. The collapse happened fast, too fast for investors to adjust, and there is no clear recovery path. Insurance relief isn't coming. Rents can't rise enough. Values remain under pressure. Capital isn't disappearing, it's moving to states where insurance still aligns with fundamentals. Florida has become a national warning of what happens when insurance breaks ownership economics. If this breakdown helped clarify the real math behind Florida's rental crisis, subscribe for forensic market analysis. Share this with anyone considering Florida rentals, and comment "exit" if you want my framework for spotting value traps before they destroy capital.